What is up, guys? Tyson Ella Cruz here. Thank you so much for rocking with me. Biden delivers his speech after dropping out of the 2024 presidential election, and he delivers it directly from the Oval Office. Let's tune in and see what's cracking. Is it going to start? Here it is, right here. Oh, looks like AV got their shit together, man. This looks way better than the last time that he was at the Oval Office. Looks like they got their stuff together here.
Americans, I'm speaking to you tonight from behind the resolute desk in the Oval Office. In this sacred space,
Phone's going off.
surrounded by portraits.
What was
extraordinary American. From behind the resolute desk in the Oval Office. In this sacred
Phone's
space,
going off.
I'm surrounded by portraits of extraordinary American presidents. Thomas Jefferson wrote the immortal words that guide this nation. George Washington.
See how they're moving the camera?
Presidents are not.
AV got their stuff together. Good job, AV. Took the feedback, got their stuff together. And I can hardly see the teleprompter behind him. And the camera angle on this is really good. Guys, I'm not I am not the highest of high in regards of when it comes to AV, but they got their stuff together with this. They're moving the camera with him, and you cannot see the teleprompter.
Not
hardly.
Kings. Abraham Lincoln, who implored us to reject malice. Franklin Roosevelt, who inspired us to reject fear. I revere this office, but I love my country more. It's been the honor of my life to serve as your president. But in the defense of democracy, which is at stake, I think is more important than any title. I draw strength and I find joy in working for the American people. But this sacred task of perfecting our union, it's not about me. It's about you, your families.
Slight movement of the camera. Looks good.
It's about we, the people.
He looks good.
You can never forget that. And I never have.
First off, I think he looks great. There was a crazy scare, a video that I posted a couple days ago after he canceled all of his stuff at after he canceled all of his rallies and speeches in Las Vegas. And from what I read at that time, he wasn't in a good state, and I'm glad that he's doing well. I really am.
I've made it clear that I believe America is at an inflection point. One of those rare moments in history when the decisions we make now will determine our fate of our nation and the world for decades to come. America's going to have to choose between moving forward or backward, between hope and hate, between unity and division. We have to decide, do we still believe in honesty, decency, respect, freedom, justice, and democracy? In this moment, we can see those we disagree with not as enemies, but as fellow Americans. Can we do that? Does character in public life still matter? I believe I know the answer to these questions because I know you, the American people. And I know this, we are a great nation because we are good people. When you elected me to this office, I promised to always level with you, to tell you the truth. And the truth, the sacred cause of this country is larger than any one of us. And those of us who cherish that cause, cherish it so much. A cause of American democracy itself must unite to protect it. You know, in recent weeks, it's become clear to me that I need to unite my party in this critical endeavor. I believe my record as president, my leadership in the world, my vision for America's future, all merited a second term. But nothing can come in the way of saving our democracy. That includes personal ambition. So I've decided the best way forward is to pass the torch to a new generation. That's the best way to unite our nation. You know, there is a time and a place for long years of experience in public life. There's also a time and a place for new voices, fresh voices, yes, younger voices. And that time and place is now. Over the next 6 months, I'll be focused on doing my job as president. That means I'll continue to lower costs for hardworking families, grow our economy. I'll keep defending our personal freedoms and our civil rights, from the right to vote to the right to choose. I'll keep calling out hate and extremism. Make it clear there is no place in America for political violence or any violence ever, period. I'm going to keep speaking out to protect our kids from gun violence. Our planet from climate crisis is the existential threat. And I will keep fighting for my cancer moonshot so we can end cancer as we know it, because we can do it. And I'm going to call for Supreme Court reform because this is critical to our democracy, Supreme Court reform. You know, I will keep working to ensure America remains strong and secure and the leader of the free world. I'm the first president in this century to report to the American people that the United States is not at war anywhere in the world. We'll keep rallying a coalition of proud nations to stop Putin from taking over Ukraine and doing more damage. We'll keep NATO stronger, and I'll make it more powerful and more united than any time in all of our history. I'll keep doing the same for our allies in the Pacific. You know, when I came to office, the conventional wisdom was that China would inevitably surpass the United States. That's not the case anymore. And I'm going to keep working to end the war in Gaza, bring home all the hostages, and bring peace and security to the Middle East and end this war. We're also working around the clock to bring home Americans being unjustly detained all around the world. You know, we've come so far since my inauguration. On that day, I told you, as I stood in that winter, we stood in a winter of peril and a winter of possibilities. Peril and possibilities. We were in the grip of the worst pandemic in the century, the worst economic crisis since the Great Depression, the worst attack on our democracy since the Civil War. But we came together as Americans. We got through it. We emerged stronger, more prosperous, and more secure. Today, we have the strongest economy in the world, creating nearly 16 million new jobs, a record. Wages are up. Inflation continues to come down. The racial wealth gap is the lowest it's been in 20 years. We're literally rebuilding our entire nation, urban, suburban, rural, and tribal communities. Manufacturing has come back to America. We're leading the world again in chips and science and innovation. We finally beat Big Pharma after all these years to lower the cost of prescription drugs for seniors. And I'm going to keep fighting to make sure we lower the cost for everyone, not just seniors.
But has the largest influx of fentanyl.
More people have health care today in America than ever before. And I signed one of the most significant laws helping millions of veterans and their families who are exposed to toxic materials. You know, most significant climate law ever in the history of the world. The first major gun safety law in 30 years. And today, the violent crime rate is at a 50-year low. We're also securing our border. Border crossings are lower today than when the previous administration left office. I've kept
They are?
my commitment to appoint the first Black woman to the Supreme Court of the United States of America. I also kept my commitment to have an administration that looks like America and be a president for all Americans. That's what I've done. I ran for president 4 years ago because I believed and still do that the soul of America was at stake. The very nature of who we are was at stake. And that's still the case. America's an idea stronger than any army, bigger than any ocean, more powerful than any dictator or tyrant. It's the most powerful idea in the history of the world. That idea is that we hold these truths to be self-evident. We're all created equal, endowed by our Creator with certain inalienable rights: life, liberty, pursuit of happiness. We've never fully lived up to it, to this sacred idea, but we've never walked away from it either. And I do not believe the American people will walk away from it now. In just a few months, the American people will choose the course of America's future. I made my choice. I've made my views known. I would like to thank our great Vice President Kamala Harris. She's experienced, she's tough, she's capable. She's been an incredible partner to me and a leader for our country. Now the choice is up to you, the American people. When you make that choice, remember the words of Benjamin Franklin hanging on my wall here in the Oval Office, alongside the busts of Dr. King and Rosa Parks and Cesar Chavez. When Ben Franklin was asked, as he emerged from the convention going on, whether the founders have given America a monarchy or republic, Franklin's response was, a republic, if you can keep it. A republic, if you can keep it. Whether we keep our republic is now in your hands. My fellow Americans, it's been the privilege of my life to serve this nation for over 50 years. Nowhere else on earth could a kid with a stutter, from modest beginnings in Scranton, Pennsylvania, and Claymont, Delaware, one day sit behind the resolute desk in the Oval Office as President of the United States. But here I am. That's what's so special about America. We're a nation of promise and possibilities, of dreamers and doers, of ordinary Americans doing extraordinary things. I've given my heart and my soul to our nation, like so many others. I've been blessed a million times in return with the love and support of the American people. I hope you have some idea how grateful I am to all of you. The great thing about America is here, kings and dictators do not rule, the people do. History is in your hands. The power is in your hands. The idea of America lies in your hands. We just have to keep faith, keep the faith, and remember who we are. We're the United States of America, and there's simply nothing beyond our capacity when we do it together. So let's act together, preserve our democracy. God bless you all. May God protect our troops. Thank you.
I'm going to jump over to Fox News after Biden addressed the nation with it was kind of vague. It was a very vague speech. After announcing his resignation on Twitter, after watching it, kind of left me a little speechless, simply because there wasn't a firm address of what has changed and how things are going to be moving forward. And he did still seem a little sick. Let's jump into Fox.
Meantime here, we do want to continue with our coverage of the Biden speech there in the Oval Office. We'll also be replaying it for you in just a matter of moments here as well. We do want to speak to our friend, though, on Capitol Hill. That's, of course, Fox News correspondent Rebecca Castor. She is joining me there from Washington with the latest as we continue to kind of dive into, rehash some of these highlights from the speech. She joins me. Rebecca, good to see you here. I wanted to get your thoughts, your reporting as well. What are people saying about the speech there in D.C.?
Well, Andrew, this speech was meant to be President Biden's dismount, really, after decades in public service. And the world was really watching to see how he would explain his exit, why he was not going to continue with his reelection campaign. And from so far, what we're hearing from people reacting to this speech is that he gave very few details into that. He spoke very vaguely and didn't really give a clear, detailed explanation for what went into this, honestly, quick decision from everybody looking on the outside going in.
I agree with that.
We've been reporting for the last few weeks as these growing calls for Biden to drop out of the race just grew louder and louder here on Capitol Hill. He remained adamant that he was not going anywhere. Then he comes down with COVID. And then several days after that is when he posted on social media that he was going to be exiting the race. This was the first time we got to hear from him directly. And the speech tonight, very vague, didn't really give much explanation for what changed from a few days ago to now.
Yeah, that's so true, Rebecca, because on Sunday, this was just a letter. And many at the time had wondered, if you're making such a historical decision of grave importance like this, you would get in front of a camera. Of course, he just did that. We're going to air the speech yet again here. But you talk about those decision-making, behind the scenes skills here from Biden, his aides, his family, his advisors. I'm curious what went into that, 3 days after the fact here. But also, what kind of Biden was this? Who did we just see there at the Oval Office? Was this a Biden?
Sorry, guys. I said a week. It was Sunday. I did say a week. Apologize for that. It was Sunday when he posted it on Twitter, and it is Wednesday today at the time of this recording.
Biden who acknowledged the decision that he made and is at peace with it? Or was this a Biden who was, somewhat stubborn, unchastened, kind of going against his will, so to speak, out of the Oval Office? I think that's an interesting question. Maybe we don't know. That's a hard question, Rebecca.
Yeah, I think that one of the key parts of his speech was when he went on and talked about how he thought the legacy of his first term in office merited a second term. But he said that, this is in the face of democracy. He's putting his personal ambition aside for the sake of democracy. He thinks that's at stake, this election. But there were a lot of things that he didn't address, Andrew. And one of those that I want to bring up is the hundreds of thousands of voters that went to the polls to vote for him in the primary. He didn't mention that at all. And I think he might, face some criticism for that over the next few days here as people react to the speech.
Yeah, and of course, he didn't mention Vice President Harris until the latter half of the speech, talking about that decision. So to your point, Rebecca, somewhat skinny on the details about what went into this decision, kind of getting into his psyche about whether or not he is, comfortable with it still. And that was a question I had posed as well in the wake of this. What was his message going to be to the 14 million Democratic primary voters who voted against him? Not many details as well on kind of the party mechanics and the party apparatus going forward into Chicago. So, of course, he said he's still got 6 more months as president here, and he's going to keep on keeping on. That seems to be the message.
Yes, that's what it seems like, Andrew. He mentioned several things that he still wants to get done during his last 6 months in office. He says he's going to keep working to lower costs for families, address climate change. He mentioned his work to try to cure cancer. And then your guest beforehand talking about his push for Supreme Court reform. I think that's going to be something really interesting to see if he's able to get done over these next 6 months.
Yeah, and that is quite the Herculean effort. Rebecca Castor there on Capitol Hill. Thanks so much. We'll talk soon. All right. In the meantime, here, we do want to take a quick commercial break.
Well, that is that, guys. I'll leave it at that. He looked good. I'm glad he's still alive. I'm glad he's still kicking. I'm glad he's doing okay. Sounds like he does have a little sore throat or something like that. He's a little sick. I'm sure he's still recovering from COVID or whatever happened. Yeah, I'll leave it at that. I want to know your guys' thoughts on his address. Anyways, let me know your guys' thoughts down below. Drop your comments. Love to hear from you. Other than that, guys, I'll catch you on the next one.